I have to do whatever I can with whatever I have. Yes, there's more resources that I can have. There's more equipment that I can have. Do what you can with what you got. That's it. That's the message. Do what you can with what you got. Yes, there will always be more that you can do. Yes, there will always be better. Guess what? Do what you can with what you got. That's it. And if you continue to do that, when you're faithful over those small things, like you will be rulers over much. But you can't like skip the faithful over the small and think that the much is going to come. It just doesn't happen that way. That's not the principle. That's not the way in which the principle works. So how can we skip something? How can we desire something big and say that I won't move through the small elements of it? The first thing that I wanted to talk about today is just celebrating small victories. Celebrating small victories. Like I think a lot of times in life, we can get to this space to where we see the end in mind, right? We see the end in mind. Like there's lots of individuals that have this thought, hey, start with the end in mind, right? So we see the end goal, we have that picture in our head, and that's what we're headed towards, right? We're headed towards whatever that destination is. And as we're headed towards that destination, uh, the journey doesn't necessarily look like that end picture, right? The journey doesn't look like that end picture. And so what can happen at times is that we are going along and we are so dead set on getting to this place that we're trying to go to that we get lost, right? We get lost in the shuffle. We're like, man, like I so desperately want to be at whatever your goal, whatever your dream, whatever your desire is, but my day to day isn't that just yet. And since my day to day isn't that just yet, it can be discouraging as you're going throughout, your journey. And the one thing that I want to encourage you all is to do this. It's just to celebrate the small victories. Like there is always going to be some victory that you will have on your journey to whatever your next is. I'm going to say that again. There will always be some small win that you can celebrate on your journey to whatever your next is. And I think it's important for us to actually celebrate those small wins, is because that uh, is like fuel, right? Like that's fuel for your car, like that's fuel for your drive, that's fuel for whatever it is that you're pushing toward to. And without fuel, obviously, at some point, you're going to run on empty. But if you continuously celebrate the things that you are doing right, continuously celebrating the things that do go well, yes, there may be a lot of things that are not going well. But if you continue to celebrate, continue to focus your mind, continue to focus your attention on those things that are going well, that will be motivation, that will be encouragement, that will be a little light that allows you to know that, man, let me keep going because I see that there's some type of positive emotion that's going on. And so I want to actually be an example of whatever it is that I'm talking about. And so the first thing that I would like to celebrate in this moment is the fact that we made it to the 100 subscribers on YouTube. I think the last time I checked, we were at 108 or 109 or something like that. But we made it to 108 subscribers on YouTube. And I think that that's absolutely amazing because, like, obviously that's not the end goal that I have. But like, like I made it there. Like, I know like a couple weeks back, I put up a post about, wanting to get to 100 subscribers. And let me tell you the reason why that's significant. The reason why that's significant is because the way that YouTube is set up, if you do not have 100 subscribers, then the URL for your channel is going to be like just some random URL, right? It's going to say, youtube.com/ blah, 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 whatever that blah, blah, blah is at the end of it. And that is what mine currently is, right? But when you get to 100 subscribers, and there are a couple other things that you have to do as well, like you have to have a picture on there, you have to have a banner on there. And once you reach these particular milestones, then it will allow you to be able to customize the channel. And so it's no longer youtube.com/ whatever that is. You can dictate your name. So if you want Brandon, if you want those things to happen when it comes to your YouTube channel, it allows you to do that. But there's certain metrics that you have to reach in order for you to move forward with that. And so I reached that metric. And I'm excited about reaching that. Yes, 100 subscribers may not sound like this super astronomical thing, but it's a small win. It's a small victory, and I'm excited about that small victory. Like it's like I said earlier, like no one has to tune in to the information that I provide. And so if someone decides to do that, like I want to honor that. You know what I'm saying? I want to celebrate that, and I want to thank you all for choosing to do that. And what I want to do is I want to obviously deliver and make sure that when you tune in to something that I'm providing, that it's going to be something that's quality. It's going to be something that's going to assist you in wherever it is that you're going. And that's what I'm dedicated to doing. And so in order to do that, you can't despise small beginnings, right? You can't despise small beginnings. Like small beginnings are a part of everybody's journey, right? There's not many people out there that can say, hey man, I started off doing something and it was absolutely amazing right from the jump, right? Not everybody can say that. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's too many people that could actually say that at all. Like at some point you're going to go through some adversity. At some point it's not going to look like that vision, that end destination that you have in mind. But in order for you to actually go through those particular hurdles, you can't despise where you begin, right? You can't despise where you begin. And not only can you not despise where you begin, you also have to be committed to the journey, right? You have to be committed to your journey. So whatever journey you're on, you have to commit to that, because without commitment to the journey, at some point you're going to exit off, right? At some point you're going to exit off. And there's this viral picture that's out there. There's this man that's mining for diamonds, right? And he's out there, he's mining for these diamonds, and he's got this pick in his hand, and he's chopping, he's chopping, he's chopping, he's digging, he's digging, he's digging. And his end goal is actually reach these diamonds that are buried under there. But what happens is he gets tired at some point. He's like, man, I've been digging, I've been digging, I've been digging, and I haven't found anything yet. I've been digging, and I have not found anything yet. And at some point he says, man, I'm just tired of digging. Yes, I know the end goal was for me to actually find these diamonds, but guess what? I haven't seen them. Like I haven't seen a diamond yet. So why would I continue to go on if I haven't seen it just yet? But if you've actually seen this picture, then you actually know that in the picture it shows that, man, he was just a couple of steps away from him actually reaching the goal that he set out to at the very beginning, right? He was just a couple of steps. He was a couple picks away for him actually getting to that destination that he was trying to get to. But what he did is he quit. He quit. Right? He said, man, like that vision that he had at the very beginning, that desire, that goal, that dream that he had, at some point, he lost it. And so the reason why I want you to celebrate the small victories, the reason why I want you to not despise small beginnings and want you to commit to the journey, because no matter what it looks like, you have to continue on to make sure you reach that final destination, no matter what it takes. But you have to be committed to that. And the second thing I want to talk about as it relates to that is don't bury your dreams, right? Because what I'm talking about right now is in relation to this podcast that I started called Identify Your Lane. And what not many people know is that I had this initial idea for this 3 years ago. Yep. I had the initial idea for Identify Your Lane 3 years ago. And the reason why I don't want you to despise small beginnings is because when I got into the sort of midst of things and thinking about what it would take to actually do that, I was like, man, like I don't have this and I don't have that, or I need this and I'm going to need that. And I started thinking about every single one of these things. And at some point I put that dream to the side. I said, you know what, maybe this isn't the season for me to focus on Identifying Your Lane. Maybe, and I ain't gonna lie to you, at some points I actually contemplated if this is something that I'm actually supposed to be doing at all. But the reason why I want to encourage you to not bury your dreams is because you had that dream for a reason, right? You had that idea. You had it for a reason. And part of my reasoning for Identify Your Lane is because I knew what it was like to think that my lane was one thing and to realize that that wasn't it, right? I put all my eggs in this particular, basket, and I was like, oh, that's it. And when that didn't work out, I was like, man, do I have a lane? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? And that led me down this rabbit hole that wasn't good for my mental health. It wasn't good for my physical, spiritual health. It wasn't good for anything that is me, right? It wasn't good for anything at all. And so what I did is I said, you know what? If I know that I've gone through that myself, then what are other people doing that are actually working in careers and they feel like they should be doing something else? But they haven't seen the success, right? They don't know how to go about the steps to making it happen. Like, I don't think that there's anybody out there that can't be successful, right? I don't think there's anybody out there that can't be successful. The thing that I do believe is that most individuals haven't found out what they should be pouring all of their energy, all their efforts, and their attention into. And because they haven't poured all their efforts, attention, and resources into the right things, they think that, oh man, whatever I'm living right now, this is it for me. That's it. And I'll come here to tell you, like, that's not it. I believe that when you get in position, when you find out what your lane is, when you do the work that it takes to discover you, do that me search, not research, but discovering yourself, that me search. When you actually do that work that it takes in order to discover your gifts, when you discover your talents that you have, when you discover the purpose that you have, when you do that work, then you will find out that there is something that you're supposed to be doing with your life. Everybody has that. And you can be wildly successful, wildly impactful when it comes to doing that, but you have to be in the right position. So many times we can actually be at a certain place and we can want to do what so-and-so is doing over here or what she's doing over there. And we get in this imposter syndrome to where it has to look like what they say it looks like, or it has to look like what it looks like for him. But the reality is that you will never be the most successful being a copycat. You know what I'm saying? Like, you weren't even designed to do that. You have to bring your authentic self to the table. And when I had the initial thought for Identify Your Lane, that's what it was all about. Like, I wanted people to get in position so they could actually do the things that their life was meant to do, right? They could do the things that they were created to do. But 2018, I was like, man, is this really it? Is this really it? So I remember doing some research, and I was actually reaching out to people at the time, and I was like, okay, like 50% of the individuals that actually did the research or did the data that I was actually creating said that they knew that they wanted to do something with their life, but they actually didn't know what they were supposed to be doing. Now, let me actually create a little bit of context around this. These were all career professionals that were actually doing amazing things, but half of those individuals said that they weren't in the right position. They weren't in their lane. They weren't operating within the gifts that they feel like they should be doing. And when I realized that, I was like, man, like, I look up to these people. I value the work that they're doing. But you mean to tell me these individuals that are doing amazing things feel like they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing with their lives? I'm like, dang. And when I realized that, I was like, man, there's a problem here. Like, there's a problem here. Like, why aren't they doing the things that they feel like they should be doing? So I asked that within there. And the overarching theme that I had with that is that they did not know how to go about doing it. They didn't know. So when Identify Your Lane, I was like, man, that's it. Like, if I can actually get people into position, if I can actually give them the resources, like whether it be through interviews, whether it be through me, and I realized that I don't have all the answers to everything. I realized that I'm just who I am. But I was like, man, I can get connected to people that have information that can assist them, and they could actually be that resource for them. I ain't got to be everything, right? I don't have to be. And a lot of times we get in this space like, I have to be the one that does this. No, you don't. No, you don't. Like even within the podcast, there have been individuals talked about, like, for example, the one that got released today. I don't know anything about photography, right? But guess who does? Travis Daniels. He films photographs and videos, 70 weddings a year. I don't know anything about that, but there's somebody that wants to know more about that. And I got connected to somebody that did, and I just interviewed that person. So I didn't deliver the information. I was just connected to the person that actually had the information, had the resources, had the knowledge, and they gave it to them. And that's what Identify Your Lane was all about. But when I was going through that process back then, I saw that there was a need. I knew that, but I just didn't know how to actually go about executing it. It wasn't that just that I didn't know how to go about executing it. It was just that I was worried about how it was going to look like when I first started. And that's so many people. We're worried about what it's going to look like. And so the point that I have right now is stop worrying about what it looks like. We got to stop worrying about what it looks like. A lot of times we put impact under what it looks like. When in reality, the impact should be the most important thing that we're focused on. Like there's so many other individuals that are out there doing more with less. Like they're doing like they that you would say, man, like how is somebody that's less qualified in a position that I'm not in? They stopped caring about what it looks like and they just got busy. They just got busy. Like I see so many people out there that are in different spaces and they're doing absolutely amazing work. But it just doesn't look like, you would look at him like, man, like I wouldn't have put it out like that. Like I would have done this. And you're critiquing something that you're not even active in. Right? You're talking about what you would do if you were to do this, but you're not doing it. Meanwhile, they're actually doing the work. You know what I'm saying? Like they're actually doing something. And I just want to actually commend those individuals that are out there that are not worried about what it looks like. They're worried about the impact. They actually see a need that is out there, and they say that, hey, I'm going to do something about it. Yeah, it may not be pretty. It may not be the most polished, but guess what? I'm going to do something about it. And that's what I want more individuals to do, because even though like I've invested into these cameras, these lights, and all these different types of things, even within the investment that I made, I was still worried about what it looked like. Man, what about, I want this, and I want this as well. Just start. Just start. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then once I started, I was like, oh man, like I've seen other people that were doing podcasts and they were doing it in their studios. And it was like, I wanted to be in person. And I was like, I felt some type of way about not being able to do it in person. Focus on the impact. Just get started. You know what I'm saying? Like we're worried about these things that don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Like the thing that matters the most is the actual impact that you can actually make with taking action. Just taking action and just moving forward with what you're doing. And so what I want to do is just encourage you to don't bury your dreams. For so many years, 3 years, I buried this dream of this podcast, right? I buried it. And what I did not know, for example, I talked to my sister today. She watched the podcast. It went live at 12 o'clock. She watched the podcast and she said, oh my God. She was like, that podcast was so amazing. She was like, the way he approaches life is something that just motivated me to actually realize that there is something that I can be doing right now. And we went on for a couple minutes just talking about the impact that this podcast had with information that I didn't deliver. It was Travis's information, but the information that he delivered from something that I just said, I'm not going to continue to worry about what it looks like. I'm just going to move forward with this. And it impacted somebody that's in my family. It's my sister, somebody that's super close to me. And what if I had worried about what it looks like? What if I had continued to bury this dream? What if I had continued to push it to the side because I don't have everything that I want to have in this particular moment? Like, we can't keep doing that. We have to think bigger. Like, we have to think about more individuals that are actually involved in this than just us. Like, I've made like a lot of selfish decisions when it comes to my dreams, when it comes to my desires, when it comes to actions that I've taken. And like, man, like we have to quit being selfish with something that is not even for you. Like a lot of times, like, and this is one thing that I truly believe, like when we have a dream, when we have a goal, when we have an idea, I don't believe that we come up with those ideas. And you may be thinking like, what do you mean? Like, I don't believe we come up with those ideas. I believe that those ideas are God implanting something in our mind that he desires to be present within the earth. Like God is giving you an idea and he says, hey, like there's issues that are going on, there's problems that are going on as it relates to this. And I gave you an idea to be the solution to whatever that problem is. And you think that you came up with a great idea. And because you think you came up with a great idea, you think that you own everything as it relates to whether or not you do that or not. But if we realize that it's not just an idea that is coming to us, it's literally God implanting something inside of us that says that, hey, there's a need that is present in the land, and I am appointing you. I want you to do something about it. But if we realize that, then we'll realize that, hey, this isn't even about us, right? This is about them. And God desires to use you in order for you to do that. Like that should feel amazing that like, man, God picked you to put that idea inside of you, right? It should feel amazing. But at times we say that, man, that we had this idea and we pick and choose whether or not we're actually going to move on it. We pick and choose whether or not we're going to move on it. And God desires to use you, but if God desires for it to be present in the land, it will happen. It's going to happen. So he said, I want to use you, but if you don't move on it, I'm going to use somebody else. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had an idea about something, right? You've had an idea about something and you didn't move on it. And then 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, you realize, dang, somebody else is doing something. I thought about that a year ago. I thought about that 3 years ago. Bingo. There was a problem that existed in the land. There was an issue. There was something that God desired for you to be the solution to, but he said, hey, you know what? She ain't going to do nothing about it. You know what? He ain't going to take action on it. So you know what? Let me go give this same idea to somebody else that's actually going to move on it, that's not going to be worried about what it looks like, that's actually going to say, hey, I'm just going to move. And you're going to find that those individuals are the ones that end up doing what God wanted you to do. That's crazy. Like, I no longer want to be that person that has an idea that God gifted to me and said, you know what, God, I know you don't like the fact that God desires to actually speak to you should be super dope. But you say, amen, God, I know you gave this to me, but you know what? I'm straight on it. Like, I don't value your voice. I don't value what you desire to do in the lives of other people. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. Like, that's selfish, man. That's selfish. And I just want to encourage somebody out there, and I'm not exactly sure who it is, but I just want to encourage somebody, don't bury your dreams. Don't bury those ideas. Don't bury it, right? There's this common notion that the graveyard is the most rich place that exists because so many people go there with so many dreams, so many inventions, so many ideas, and they never did anything with them. They never did anything with them. And I think a lot of times we never reach the places that we are designed, that we are actually destined to be, because we don't take the action because we're worried about what it looks like. That's why the first thing I said is don't despise small beginnings. And not only do you not despise small beginnings, celebrate those small victories. I have 108 subscribers on YouTube. You may be like, oh man, that ain't really a lot. I'm celebrating 108. So for those of you that have subscribed, thank you so much. Like, I'm appreciative that you decided to tune in. I'm appreciative of the fact that you said, hey, there's something about this that I'm resonate with. And whether you just did it because we're friends, whether you just did it because whatever, like, I'm not really worried about the reason why you did it. I'm grateful that you actually moved, because this has been 3 years in the making. You know what I'm saying? This has been 3 years in the making. And I'm just happy that it's actually here, and that anybody that decides to tune in, and that anybody that is assisted, anybody that's helped, anybody that's inspired, anybody that's encouraged, like, I'm grateful for that, because you got to recognize the journey that it took for me to even be here. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I want to do, is like, I want to talk more about the journey that it takes to get there, because so many people think it's going to be sweet the whole way. Man, it ain't going to be sweet. It ain't always going to be sweet. There have been times where I'd be like, man, like, why is it so-and-so tuning in? Why is it? Guess what? Be grateful of those individuals that side. Like, we always worried about the people that didn't. And just focus on those that did. And just do whatever you can to pour into those individuals. And there will be like when you plant a seed and you continue to water that thing, as long as it's a good seed, it will sprout. As long as it's a good seed, it will sprout. And I believe that I have a good seed. And so I'm just going to continue to water those individuals that decide to say yes, and give them everything that I have. Because as long as I continue to do that, it will sprout and it will grow. And it's only 108 right now. And I'm not even going to worry about 500. I'm not going to worry about 1,000. I'm just going to honor those 108. That's it. I'm just going to honor those 108. And I'm going to do everything I can to continue to interview, to continue to impact the lives of those individuals. And I'm praying that, everything continues to grow and everything's continuing to advance. But I'm just grateful for the small beginnings that I have. And whatever God allows me to do, I know he didn't put it in me just to put it there. I know there was a need for it. And because there is a need for it and he desired to use me, I got to step up. I have to do whatever I can with whatever I have. Yes, there's more resources that I can have. There's more equipment that I can have. Do what you can with what you got. That's it. That's the message. Do what you can with what you got. Yes, there will always be more that you can do. Yes, there will always be better. Guess what? Do what you can with what you got. That's it. And if you continue to do that, when you're faithful over those small things, like, you will be rulers over much. But you can't like skip the faithful over the small and think that the much is going to come. It just doesn't happen that way. That's not the principle. That's not the way in which the principle works. So how can we skip something? How can we desire something big and say that I won't move through the small elements of it? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's asinine at times to even think that with anything that I'm like, for example, I just ordered something from Amazon earlier. And I remember seeing the picture of Jeff Bezos when he was in his house, had the garage door, and he had a little office thing set up in there, and it had a little Amazon in the back of the joint. Yo, you know how much Jeff Bezos is worth now? So many hundreds of billions of dollars. Faithful over the small. Yeah, it started in my house. I'm in my house right now, right? I remember I wanted a studio. I was looking for studios. Like, man, I got to go and buy a building or rent out a building. Faithful over the small things. I'm going to start in my house. Do what I can with what I have. I bought a house. Let me use it, right? Let me be faithful over what God blessed me with this house, and let me just utilize what I have. And if that comes in the future, that's great. But I'm going to like exhaust every bit of this house that I got, right? I got this whole room is all set up. Everything is just dedicated to this podcast. Like, this is what this room is for, is to create content. I just got to be faithful over what I got. You know what I'm saying? And I'm grateful for it. Like, there were times to where you know what I'm saying, where I didn't even have the house. I went from an apartment, right? Had an apartment town shoot. There were times where I didn't even have that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this journey that I've been on has been a crazy one, but I just want to be transparent about, you know, what God is taking me through, and hopefully that will encourage somebody to realize that, man, like life can be crazy at times, but don't give up. Like, don't give up, don't get out, man. There is something that's on the other side of this, but you got to go through the storms. You got to go through the ups. You got to go through the downs. You got to go through it all. But in the end, it's all worth it. Like, it's all worth it. Like, just to be able to see what has transpired in the small time from a commitment that I made. From a commitment that I made. And one thing that one of my boys told me, he's like, man, stay committed to your commitments. Right? Like, this ain't about anybody else. It's like, I committed to this, so I got to stay committed to those things that I said I was committed to. You know what I'm saying? And so, man, that's kind of the message that I wanted to kind of bring out and realize that, man, everything is a journey. Everything. And we have to be committed to whatever and how long it takes to actually make it to the destination. Like, don't be that individual that went out there and was digging for diamonds and quit right before he actually got to where he was going. Like, man, that sucks, man, to think that somebody came, and I want to actually think about this. Like, there is somebody that came behind the work that he did and didn't put in as much work as he did, but they got the reward. Like, there is somebody that said, hey, I'm actually going to go, like, think about this, because I mentioned this earlier. There was somebody that went digging for diamonds. I'm pretty sure y'all have actually seen this. He was picking, and then he quit right before he got to his end goal. There was somebody that had a goal or had a thought, man, like, I bet you there's diamonds somewhere out here. And they started picking. And about probably 10 minutes into their journey, they actually found a diamond. And so that individual probably was like, man, I can't believe they actually found that quick, but you quit. And there's going to be individuals that actually have quicker success than you may have, because they're going to pick up right where you left off. And we're going to be upset about the success that they had, but we have to be more upset that we quit. Does that make sense what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We have to be more upset that we actually quit before we actually made it to the destination. And I just wanted to throw a little fuel, give a little gas, give a little encouragement for anybody that's out there to don't quit before you get your blessing. Like, don't. Like, that blessing is yours, but it takes some work in order for you to actually get it. And then if you actually find somebody that actually gets it and you quit, like, we can't be upset with them. We can't be mad about that because we quit. Did it belong to you? It did belong to you. But you got to put in all the work that it takes in order for you to obtain it, in order for you to possess it. Right? We can't quit before we actually make it to that destination. And so I just wanted to, stop by and actually talk about that for a little while and just encourage somebody out there. And I think those individuals of you that have tuned in, if you haven't already, please do me a favor and subscribe to the Identify Your Lane podcast. I had an episode that dropped today with my man Travis Daniels, and he is a videographer that's based, a photographer and videographer that is based out of Miami. And man, this dude is dope, man. He played in the NFL for 8 years, and he transitioned from the NFL to actually doing something that most people wouldn't have, like, 'cause black dude, right? So I don't really know a lot of black photographers out there. I mean, my wife is one, but I don't know an abundance of individuals. And when I think about where I came from, like, photography isn't one of those things that you grow up and think about, oh man, I want to be a photographer. And like, ain't no dudes like growing up like saying they want to do photography. But this man has created a lane for himself and is actually doing amazing things. You know what I'm saying? And so if you haven't already, do me a favor, and that's to subscribe to Identify Your Lane podcast. You can literally just go to YouTube, type in Identify Your Lane. All the videos will come up there. Like, subscribe, share them, comment, do all those things. It definitely is. It helps as I'm going throughout this journey of learning what it means to be a podcaster and learning what it means to be a YouTuber. Like, another thing I want to say with that I just thought about, like you think you know what it takes to do something, but you really don't know until you actually get in the thick of it. And so, like, I was reading before that you need 100 subscribers to actually customize your URL with YouTube. And so, boom, I was like, boom, I just need to get 100 subscribers. But that's not all you need. It wasn't until I got into the thick of it, so I actually kept digging until I realized you need 100 subscribers. You also have to have a custom picture on there. And you actually have to, what's the third thing? You actually have to have a banner on there. So I didn't have a banner on my YouTube page until last night. Because when I was getting in there, I was like, man, why won't it let me create this custom channel? And I was like, I reached 100 subscribers. Like, I did what y'all said that I need to do. It's more in the details. And as you continue to go in, there will be more downloads. There will be more information that you receive, but you won't know that until you actually get into it. What you think it takes at the very beginning, once you get in the midst of it, you're actually going to realize that it takes a little bit more than what you thought. But you never get that information until you actually get in the midst of it, until you actually start doing that work. And so it still hasn't allowed me to customize my URL because there's actually another caveat. So I have the 100 subscribers. We created the banner. I have the picture. I have all that stuff up there. But then YouTube has an algorithm that says that it takes a certain amount of time before that even customization is available to you. And so here I am thinking that this is all I needed, but I realize is that there's still more that needs to be done. And so I'm just learning everything that I can as I go throughout this journey and realizing that, hey, whatever comes my way, hey, I just got to take that thing on the chin, keep that thing moving and just continue to move on. Because as I move on to whatever that next goal is, there's going to be more information that I wasn't aware of. And guess what? I'm just going to have to take that thing and I have to keep moving because I'm committed to it, because I realize that God gave me something and I know that there's a reason for it. And I just have to see what that reason is. And even though I've already seen like the remnants of some of the things that it's for, I still don't know the full story. I still don't have the full picture. And as I continue to move on, more and more of the picture will be revealed. More and more of the pieces to the puzzle that I'll receive. And so I just got to keep moving. And so no matter where you're at in your journey, keep moving, right? You'll continue to get downloads. You'll continue to get information. You'll continue to get instruction as you continue to move. One of my guys, Sam Acho, man, he said this thing that was super dope. He said, God hits a moving target. I said, dang, run that back. He said, man, God hits a moving target. And he said, man, as you move, God will actually reach you as you're actually moving. But we're waiting for God to actually do something in our life, and we actually ain't doing no moving. God's like, man, I'm just waiting for you to move. Like, I'm actually right there at that point. I'm going to meet you where you're at, but I just need you to move. Just move. And as you move, he'll continue to hit you. And as soon as you get there, you go down there, boom, and he'll hit you where you're at when you get there. And he'll continue to do that and do that and do that in your life. But you have to move no matter what it looks like. So don't despise the small beginnings. Don't bury your dreams and stop worrying about what it looks like. Believe me, what it looks like today is not what it will look like tomorrow. What it look like tomorrow will not be what it looks like a year from now. And what it looks like a year from now will not be what it looks like in 5 years. But you can't worry about that at the beginning, because then you will never get started.